It's Paul Joseph Watson with Infowars.com. Now, love of money, the evisceration of morality, the exaltation of postmodern nihilism, the attack on the family, the normalization of the bizarre, the sick and the twisted, the flagrant and also symbolically hidden nods to Satanism and the Illuminati. The mainstream music industry has become the frontier of pop culture cannibalism, and it's become the epitome of the entertainment industrial complex. And here to talk about it, I'm delighted to welcome a musician in her own right, singer-songwriter Teressa Wilcox. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
First off, just explain to the viewers a little bit about yourself and how you got into music.
Well, ever since I was little, I loved music. I started playing piano when I was about 4 years old. Started playing guitar when I was 13 and just loved the sound of the guitar. Listened to people like Billie Holiday. She was a big inspiration. A lot of 50s music. And then when I was in high school, my friends encouraged me to start writing songs about, real things that were happening to me. And I thought, well, that's a great idea. So the more I did that, the more I realized that people really liked what I was writing about, and that led me to all kinds of things and furthered my career. I lived in London. I worked with music producers, opened for some great bands, and really got some experience and learned some things behind the scenes about the music industry.
And that's what we're going to get into. Of course, we're going to stray into more esoteric context later on, but basically anyone with 2 eyes and 2 ears and a modicum of intelligence can see that certainly in the present day the mainstream music industry does not showcase genuine talent. And indeed, from my perspective, Teresa, it seems as though talent's virtually at the bottom of the list when it comes to the people who rise to the top of the charts nowadays. But what it does showcase, which we've seen and we'll go on to look at, is precisely what musicians who have been successful and who have later got out of the business and blown the whistle have attested to, which is this kind of, ruthless, vulgar, dumbed down, intensely tightly controlled environment in the music industry, which of course is the very kind of environment in which real talent is strangled and ceases to exist. So tell us about, as somebody who's in the business, what you were told by music industry insiders about the true nature of the business and what it takes for somebody in your position to have a chance of success.
Well, you got to have a hit song. That's the first thing. If you don't have a hit song using one of the formulas that, let's say, producers have used in the past, 15 years, you got to have that or nobody's going to listen to you. The look. People used to tell me that I needed to lose weight, and I was at a healthy weight. I mean, normal for a lot of women, but I had to lose that before I could even get noticed. Even though I was being flown here, flown there to do songs, and basically anything that I loved about myself, that I believed in myself, the guitar, the way I write, I was told that that's not acceptable, that it has to be something else. Instead of playing the guitar, I need to learn how to dance and, wear risky clothes and brand myself. And it really just made me be like, well, I'm not going to do that because it's not who I am. And if I am not going to be who I am, then what's the point? And it has nothing to do with music. It's about getting to the top in this way that you have to sell yourself out. And that really opened my eyes to the stuff going on behind the scenes.
And that's precisely what, as I said, people who've got out of the industry have said. And it's not as if, talent doesn't make money. I mean, I was looking before at the top global album sales in history, for the last 4 or 5 decades. And yeah, you've got some crap in there. You've got some Madonna, some Backstreet Boys and whatever. But if you look at the top-selling albums that have sold 20 million or more over the last 4 or 5 decades, it mostly consists of, genuine acts who have had real talent and were not artificially manufactured for mass consumption. So it proves that talent does make money. It always has. But in the modern era, it's like the argument for churning out this crap, which we're bombarded with, this monotonous, repetitive crap that now dominates the charts, the argument that it's just to make money doesn't explain it, because the music industry is making 50% less money than it did 10 years ago, and yet it's only continuing to pursue this model of dumbed down vulgarity and monotonous rubbish. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, what's your take on that? Is it just about money?
I think it's about money, but I think it's about fame. I remember when Britney Spears was, getting huge, and every year her and all the other girls competing, they would do something to top the last year's performance, meaning it would be more sexual, it would be more vulgar and stuff like that. And I was thinking, well, where's it going to go? Eventually it's going to get to this point where, how much more can they expose of themselves, and how bad can it get? And now I see it with it having to do with the Illuminati, to be honest with you, drilling that into our heads. It is a dumbing down of America. The stuff on MTV, even the shows that they have, they don't want people to be creative in a way that is natural. You have to be this product. And a lot of people I know, real musicians, they're never going to do that just to get wherever.
Yeah, you mentioned, making women look like whores, forcing them to act in a certain provocative way and then just trying to top it time after time. And it all ties into this objectification of women, which of course has been going on for decades, but it's now to such an intensive level. I'm a red-blooded male like any other. I like attractive women, but it comes to a point where it just becomes vulgar and crass. And as I said before, you switch on MTV for an hour and it's just hideous. It's like straight out of the pit of hell. But, what message does it send out to young women that are just told the only way to be successful is to act like a complete satanic slut? What's the agenda behind that message?
Well, I know it makes it harder for me and other women who are singer-songwriters to be taken seriously. The message to me is just full out, sex. Some of these women can sing, some of them can't. And it just takes away. It takes away from anything that makes you special, any message that you're putting out there. How could you put a message out there when it's being told to you over and over? So it really is sending a very disrespectful message to women. You're only going to get noticed if you look like this or whatever. But, you got to think deeper than that if you're going to get people to respect you nowadays.
It's amazing, isn't it? Because it's kind of a message. They're giving young women a template for how to live their lives, and they're saying this is what you've got to do to be a success, to be liked, to be noticed. And then you look at that template, and it's superficial. It promotes desperately unhappy moral relativism and an unfulfilled life, because it's just doing things that other people demand and expect of you. It's not having independent thought. It's not following your own destiny. And that's the message they're sending out. Moving on, I mentioned those artists previously that have come out and spoke out against this, and it's not as if they were, people with an axe to grind because they were losers. These were successful artists. The latest of which is Lauryn Hill, who of course was big time back about 10 years ago, 15 years ago. She came out, of course, we had this non-payment of tax story last weekend, I think it was, but she shot back with this astounding letter in which she revealed why she was moving away from the music industry to escape the clutches of being, quote, manipulated and controlled by a media-protected military-industrial complex. And this isn't somebody from the political arena saying this. This is an R&B rap singer who was successful 10, 15 years ago who's coming out and saying this. So, Teresa, you've read this Lauryn Hill letter. What's your take on it?
I think that, great job for her to coming out and saying that, because there's a lot of people that have gone through that and haven't said it. And Lauryn Hill seems like the person that's going to be honest and going to tell you how it is. She's right. It takes away the environment that young artists, creative people need to grow. it always seems that everyone's trying to make a profit off of what you're doing. Someone always has to try to make a profit. And that's what they were trying to do to Lauryn Hill. And she had gotten out of the business just for the safety of her family. That's how intense this business can get. I mean, going into hiding, a lot of people don't even realize that, but it's true and it happens.
It's amazing. I mean, I'm going to put a link to it under this YouTube video and on the website, and the viewers can go and read it in full. Moving on though, July 2010, we had this London Guardian article, which was a report that gave serious credence and consideration to the material which was found on the Vigilant Citizen website, vigilantcitizen.com, which is always controversial, and which is actually run by a music producer. So this isn't somebody who's just turned up on the internet with some theories. He was actually in the music business, and we're going to get into some more of that later. But this Guardian article, they highlight the claims that pop music and music videos are loaded with occult symbolism, mind control, and that it's all designed to keep the masses watching and consuming it brainwashed and downtrodden. And this really gets to the heart of the issue now. This is why we had literally 200 comments just on a Facebook post I did the other day asking for people to provide examples of this. And so, you know, we can forget all the vague stuff about backward messages in songs from 30, 40 years ago. That's tame in comparison now, because they're throwing it in our faces. This is revelation of the method. And what I'm talking about is Illuminati symbolism, satanic symbolism. And I'm not especially vehemently religious, but this is so flagrantly in our faces, it's impossible to deny. It's in songs, it's in music videos, and it's sending the message consistently, if you analyse it, laughing at us, saying you're just a bunch of dumb slaves, we're the elite, we're in control of the music industry, and we're using it to poison your kids' minds by making them think, as you said earlier, promiscuity, nihilism, moral relativism, and everything that can ruin somebody's life quite easily is in fact cool, hip and trendy, and that's constantly promoted. I just want to go through some examples here, and I'll get your take on it. Because it's, you know, it's not just symbolism, it's propaganda, it's brainwashing. Rihanna's S&M video, which is on, you can go find it on YouTube, 37 seconds into the video, and then later on as well towards the end, the words "Princess of the Illuminati slut" are flashed on the screen in the middle of this music video. And, you know, blink and you'll miss it, but if you go frame by frame, it's there. I mean, what is that doing in a music video aimed at primarily teenagers who listen to this music? Let's get your take on that, and then I'll go through some more examples. The symbolism.
I think it's exactly what it is. And anyone who's watching, they're sitting there watching it. That's the thing. They don't realize that this stuff is flashing in the background, and that's the whole point of how they do it. It's a subliminal message. And so you could be watching MTV and you don't know this stuff's being put into your head over and over and over. I didn't really realize any of this till I started watching Alex Jones about a year ago, and it really just, I mean, once I see something, it's pretty obvious. And I don't know if, I don't think it's trendy. I think there's definitely another agenda behind it. And I've seen it in numerous artists, and whether they even know it or not, that's the other thing. Is some of those singers, they're almost like puppets themselves, and I don't know who's behind the elite, but I'm sure Rihanna really does think she's the princess of the Illuminati.
I mean, I've been spending the past 2 hours collecting examples of this, and it just blows your mind. Most of them, though, are just propaganda. It's, you know, you've got Katy Perry as the Marine enticing young people to enlist and fight the bullshit wars of occupation. You've also got Perry dressing up as a nerd and then getting a makeover to look like a slut and having sex. Isn't that a great message to send to 10 to 14-year-olds? Then you've got the symbolism, you know, Madonna dressing up as Baphomet at the Super Bowl, demonstrating her role as the high priestess. Covering up one eye, they all do that, littered with numerous examples of that in music videos. As he said, the artists themselves openly announcing that they're under the control of their puppet masters, literally by being portrayed as puppets on a string. Also,
Right.
the Mickey Mouse ears being portrayed as puppets, as cartoon characters, as childlike figures under the control of a big brother in the music industry. So this video is going to be too short to go through them all, but I'm going to put a link to some of the most flagrant examples. You know, Lady Gaga, the ultimate whore of Babylon, every single one of her videos, she's this satanic Illuminati slut trying to bring down Jesus or whatever. Transhumanism, depicting people as robots, using riot cops to dance around on stage, normalizing the police state. Just from A to Z, laundry list of not only symbolism, but outright propaganda and brainwashing. And that's the modern day music industry. And people are wildly interested in this subject. As I said, 200 comments on a Facebook post. People are becoming aware of it, and it seems the industry and the elite simply don't care. They continue to pump it out with all the monotonous crap music that we're faced with. So any more comments on the symbolism before we move on?
Well, I think they're going to keep doing it. I think more people are going to be awakening to it, which is a good thing, and I think that, a lot of stuff's going to be backfiring on them. That's just how I see it. But, yeah, I'm not, I don't know. Don't really have much more to say about that.
All right, we'll move on to the final question, which is, our whole cultural identity has been poisoned, hijacked and infected by all this. How can young people, artists, musicians, go about reclaiming their cultural identity and rejecting this architecture of pop culture cannibalism?
Well, we could all get together, we could put on a concert, we could find, musicians around the world, now that we have the internet, we can utilize that to the best of our abilities. And a lot of people, they can do their own research on this topic. Anything that we've talked about, sit down, do your own research, and, most people might be shocked what they're going to find. But I think, in the community, maybe, a lot of my musicians friends, they all know this is going on. So I guess just about coming together and trying to make things happen. That has nothing to do with the mainstream media and music industry.
And just in closing, tell people about your website, how they can listen to your material.
You guys can check me out at www.teressawilcox.com, and I'm on MySpace, and I'm on Facebook, and iTunes. I have an album called Beautiful Thing that you can purchase.
And we're going to put links to that in the YouTube clip below. Basically, in conclusion, I'm going to revisit this topic again because people are obsessed with it, and rightly so, I think. The Illuminati controls the music industry. They throw it in our faces at every available opportunity. They're poisoning our culture. They're degrading society. They're creating generations of soulless, unhappy, nihilistic young people. And we all need to get together as a generation and generally, as a culture, and reject their entire false paradigm. Teressa Wilcox, thanks for joining us. We'll speak to you again soon.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.